Hello everybody, thanks for checking out another episode of the Home Sweet Arkansas Show. This time, we talk to honey pies. Hey Sharon, how are you?
Hey Ray, I'm great. How are you today?
I'm good.
Welcome to Honey Pies.
Yeah, thanks for having me. So I know you guys serve pies. Tell me a little more about who you are.
Honey Pies opened our brick and mortar just around a year ago. Everything today is different than what we thought we would be doing originally. The community has given us some really great feedback about what they want, and so we're just trying to do something differently every day to meet that need.
So what's your number one pie?
The best seller by far year-round, it doesn't matter what the holiday is or what the season is the chocolate fudge brownie pie. It's got the crispy topping like a little brownie would have if you like that little crust on top of your brownies, and then the center of it is nice and gooey, the way I like my brownies.
Oh, my mouth is watering. So what's the runner-up? What's number two?
Runner-up is coconut meringue, and it doesn't matter if it's summer, winter, fall, spring, it's always number two.
So the other thing I noticed was that you have all these little small pies.
Yes, the mini pies are super pretty too. Everybody just loves them. I think everything is cuter in mini form, we say. We switched from the slices originally to the mini pies. It just made customer interaction a little bit better. Nobody had to wait on the slicing, and it was just easier to grab off the shelf and a little bit prettier, and we weren't slicing whole pies which were fresh from the oven, which is always disastrous.
Yeah, nice. So it's a lot faster, a lot more efficient.
Yes.
And a lot better product in the end too.
And adorable.
So do you have to do anything different to the small pies that you wouldn't normally have to do to large pies?
Absolutely. The recipe is the same, but the procedures are a little bit different on the mini pies. Would you like to come to the back and I'll show you how?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're washed up. What's next?
Whenever you start with flour, you're gonna want an apron so you don't mess up your pretty sharp.
Okay, that's fair enough.
We got this one special for you.
Oh, okay. There we are, an official pie maker.
It's a functional tool in the kitchen.
Love it. Okay, ready to go.
So we'll start the pie crust with very simple ingredients. You have to use simple ingredients well and use them the proper way, and that's gonna make the perfect pie crust for you.
Okay.
So we'll just use all-purpose flour, and then if you want to, you can put the butter in the flour for me. And then we're gonna add some sugar. And I like to use kosher salt, and the easiest way to do it is just to smear the butter between your fingers.
Just get in there, huh?
Yep, my grandmother always did it either with forks or with her fingers.
Wow.
So that's the method that I know and I'm familiar with.
So you mentioned your grandmother. Is that
Yes.
where you learned how to make pies?
It absolutely is. I grew up in a big family, and we lived right next door to my grandmother, and your grandmothers are the best babysitters.
Awesome.
So they're also the best haven for whenever you have siblings who you maybe don't get along with that well whenever you're young, and you get a house full of 5 girls trying to get along with one another.
So the 6 of you, is there anyone else in your family that bakes?
I'm the only one that bakes professionally, but we all bake competitively against one another. My sisters and I individually think that we're the best baker and that we make the best pie. So Thanksgiving is always an adventure. We always have at least 3 turkeys and 15 to 20 pies.
So do you use family recipes for your pies?
My favorite is her sweet potato pie recipe, and that is 100% my grandmother. She would have used Crisco in her crust, but we do all butter.
All butter.
To me, that gets the best flavor. All right, so at this point, we're getting this a little bit more incorporated. It's starting to stick together a little bit. So I'm just gonna give it a good toss and make sure we have a lot of that flour. So I'm just gonna dump the water in on top of this. And I like to do pie crust the way that my grandmother taught me to do biscuits, which is dumping and folding. My grandmother,
Dumping and folding.
So instead of incorporating into the bowl, I dump it all out and kind of build it on top of each other. So I just fold it over like I do biscuit dough, and then you keep pressing it down. Is it as messy as you thought it was gonna be?
A lot messier. Oh yeah. That's a way different texture.
After you make your pie crust, you always want to let the gluten rest, and you want to let that butter get solid again.
Letting the butter get soft letting the butter get hard or get soft? You said you let it.
It's soft right now. You want to pop it in the fridge and let it get hard.
In the dough.
Right. You're finished as soon as it starts holding together.
Okay.
So even though it doesn't look all smooth and pretty, that dough is finished. You don't want to overwork it. This recipe that we're using actually makes 4 pie crusts. So
Okay.
you could do 4 single pies, or you could do 2 double crust pies. So I just separate it out and I form it into a little disc. And then you just wrap that in plastic wrap and it'll keep in the freezer for months.
So after we mix the dough, we let it cool.
Yes.
Now it's time to roll it out.
So you just grab a pinch and you want your work surface. It doesn't have to be necessarily coated, but you just don't want your pie crust to stick to your work surface. So I start from the middle and roll out, and it doesn't take as much pressure as you think. And then I pick it up and turn it. You want it about 2 inches larger than your pie pan, but the opposite end of the Silpat has the circle guide on it. So if you get a
Oh, wow.
Silpat, and it'll tell you.
That's a great idea. I'm pretty consistently making a triangle.
So I would just start with where you want it to change, and just start in the middle, work your way out on it.
Okay, so after we roll out the dough, we make these discs that fit the pans, right?
Yes, the secret with pie crust is you want to be gentle with it, but you also want to make sure it's not going to shrink up whenever you're cooking it. So whenever I do pie crust, I lift it up and push it down in the middle.
Like that?
Yep, it looks really good. You've got a little corner here that's not quite tucked in.
Fixing it for me.
Expert level for your first time. I say that I like pie because it's not wedding cake.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be perfect. It's homemade, and you want it to look like it's got a little bit of extra love in it. So if something cracks or tears or falls apart, it's just fine. It's always fixable. We're gonna get a little scoop of the apple pie filling for you. We'll get a little scoop of the filling for myself. And then we're gonna build the galette. So the galette is just basically pie that doesn't have a top crust. Just pinch it off and fold it around. You're doing great.
Oh, you could do 3 in the time it takes me to do this.
We do a lot of them in the shop. That looks really great.
Kind of, sort of.
All right, and then apple pie, we always do with an egg wash and a cinnamon sugar sprinkle, because that's the way my grandmother always did it. And then you just pinch the cinnamon and sugar, and we go all over.
You got yours on the side of the crust. I have to tilt mine to just do that same.
And that's the apple galette.
It already smells good.
So I'm just gonna lay this on top of your pie tin.
Okay.
And then just like with the minis, we're gonna lift it up and tuck it down in there so that it doesn't stretch or shrink while we're baking. If you love crust like I do, you don't trim any of this extra off. I love crust.
Okay.
A lot of people, you would trim off this extra crust, and then my grandmother would do crust cookies with it. She would just take those extra trimmings and sprinkle it with sugar and cinnamon, and then you'd have a little snack before you could eat your pie for supper. But I love all of it, so I keep all my extra crust and I make a giant thick crust around the edge. So I just pick it up and tuck it under.
So have you ever entered into a pie making competition?
I have. Competition is not necessarily my favorite. I don't excel in a judgmental competition environment, but I have participated in a couple and we've won, and now I've just kind of moved on, and I enjoy mostly the visiting, and I've judged 1 or 2 also, and that to me is a little more fun.
Well, way to go out on top.
That's right, yeah, we can't enter anymore.
That's right. Ta-da!
Right, now at this point you could leave it just like that if you wanted to, or you could add a little bit of decoration. My grandmother taught me to crimp with my thumb, my index finger, and my other index finger, and you just go around in circles.
There's yours. I feel like I need to go back a little and fix it.
No, yours is beautiful. This is absolutely great. Have you ever done this before?
No, it's just the apron. Oh, that looks so good.
The finished product. Are you proud of your work?
We did incredible. So this one is the coconut
Meringue. Yes.
Okay.
And we pipe the rosettes on top. My pastry chefs do great work in the back and take great care of me.
So I know traditionally we'd either get a small one, right, because we have the mini pie.
Yes.
Or we'd take a slice. But I just want to dig right in.
I'm not judging. We're a judgment-free zone.
No judging. Okay, here we are. Little crust, little filling, a little meringue, right? That is really good. It's very balanced. It's not overly sweet. The meringue, you can really taste that. The crust has a really nice crunch and crumble. That's a really good pie.
Thank you.
So You're doing an incredible job with the pies. What's next for you guys?
We're just trying to fulfill the needs of the community. They've told us that they want breakfast, lunch, and coffee, so that's next on the agenda. We've built in some additional seating in the suite next door. We're really excited that people now have a place to come and sit and visit.
And there's no better place to visit than after lunch and a pie and some great coffee.
A little bit of everything.
And your coffee's local too, right?
Yes, our coffee program is really important to us. We've decided to give back to the community who's been so gracious in giving to us over the past year. So every cup of coffee purchased in-house, we donate a meal to the Arkansas Food Bank. We use Leyva's roast for our coffee and our French press and our pour over, and then we run espresso with Onyx Coffee out of Northwest Arkansas.
Well, thanks so much for having us. It's been a real treat to be with you today.
It's my pleasure. You're welcome back anytime to bake with us.
Oh, anytime you need a hand, you give me a call.
I definitely will.
Thanks for checking out this episode of the Home Sweet Arkansas Show. Be sure to check out myhoneypies.com for more information on how you can get some of these incredible pies. I'll see you next time. That's like a perfect balance. I feel like I have stuff in my food. I want to eat more pies. So good. Well, that's really neat. That's your part.